afternoon. I'm Ferdinand Washington III, and this is The Breakdown, your premier source for Blood Bowl commentary. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Chadwick Chad Chuck Charles. How you doing, Chad Chuck?
Absolutely cardiovascular, Ferd.
Good to hear. With Week 2 down and most of the Week 3 matchups left to be played, the focus for many this week seems to be rebuilding, sometimes entire rosters from scratch. Two whole teams have been replaced by completely new squads that their coaches have to hope will be a little bit less terrible. What's more, Coach Hungry Mouth of the Top Rope Tusslers has been the recipient of the traditional Week 2 kidnapping by a terrorist organization. What do you make of these recent developments?
I think that they'll shape the league as we know it for the rest of the season. Obviously, if these two new squads are better than they were before, then, we have two more contenders in the mix. And if Hungry Mouth doesn't return, we'll have to find a replacement coach to coach his terrible team.
Okay, well, moving into matchups in the ACD, Lucy Fresh Muffins Kaiba Corp already played Copper's Bird or Bat in the early game, and that was for the top of the division. As most of you probably saw, Coach Lucy packed a chainsaw and skinned Copper's ass raw to secure the 1-0 victory and claim the top of the division.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Well, it's becoming apparent that Copper is not going to take anyone alive in this season, but Coach Lucy Fresh Muffins is really starting to run away with this conference.
He really is. Well, moving on to more interesting games, Pickle 672's NFL Players Association is playing Migo's Your Waifu's Trash. Now, Migo has yet to play his Week 2 matchup after the abduction of his opponent postponed the match, and our thoughts and prayers here at the studio go out to Coach Hungry Mouth's family.
Yeah, that is truly an unfortunate development, and I have to think that Coach Migo will be the one who suffers the most from this, not being able to play his further matchups until this one's resolved.
Well, regardless of how it's resolved, the story of the match is certainly going to be the NFL Players Association, who, coming off a lackluster performance in Week 1, shellacked Big Randy and the Jeffs last week in a savage 5-1 trip to Pound Town. Your Waifu's Trash is a little more resilient than the child-sized offensive line that the Jeffs fielded, but not by much. What do you think of this matchup, Chadchuk?
Well, I think if we see the same sort of aggressive face from NFL Players Association this week, it'll be an absolute molestation of a match.
Moving on to Ferd's Freak of the Week, Adrian Peterson, who was no small part of the NFL Players Association's win over Big Randy and the Jeffs. Peterson beat those goblins like a red-headed stepchild, or any of his children, really, scoring 2 touchdowns, completing a pass, and even getting involved in the blocking game to lead his team to a 5-1 victory. He ran those goblins ragged all day long, and for that, he's Ferdinand's Freak of the Week.
He really spanked those idiots.
He really did. Across the league in the BCD, we have Ides of March's Destro You Idiot versus the Rincey's Average Family. And I gotta say, Average Family is a great show, which has firmly cemented itself as the breakout TV series this season. Man, I just love it when Competent Father says his trademark catchphrase, "How dare you?"
You're absolutely right, Ferd. That's a knee slapper.
Well, they'll have to defend their spot at the top of the division from Destro You Idiot, who takes the divisional lead with a win here.
Yeah, that's absolutely a very key matchup this week. I think that the Rincey's Average Family has really started to show that they know their way around the Blood Bowl pitch. But Ides of March Destro, You Idiot, is really starting to come back together after a lackluster start to the season.
Yeah, well, I think we're all excited to see the return of Cobra Network Television, who just couldn't stay away from the sport, announcing his return from retirement this week. He stated that Laser My Face into the Moon, or Lafitum, as he's known by his fans, was a glory hog, and wasn't about to take any attempt at stealing his single-season murder record lying down. A noble goal, I guess?
Absolutely. This kind of friendly competition between teammates can be the fire that ignites underneath and sends a team propelled into the playoffs.
Moving to the bottom of the BCD, we have Dietz's Gridiron Ghasts versus John is Dude's Coconut Elves, with the Ghasts coming off a big win and really getting their season back on track. And man, these guys hit hard, somehow managing to power through a much bigger line in last week's game.
Yes, they're absolutely pound for pound, probably the toughest team in the league, I would say.
I tend to agree. But this week, their star linebacker, Rakdrix the Relentless, will have to settle with being Rakdrix the Irrelevant, as he's out with a broken jaw.
It's always hard when a player like this has to sit a week out, but it's probably for the best for the rest of the season, I would say.
Well, We talked to Coach John as dude, and he continues to pretend that he's coaching his old Simeon team by having all of his players dress up as if they're monkeys. The fans hate it, the players hate it, the other teams hate it, but John as dude maintains that it's bullshit.
I pity those players, Ferd. It must be hot as fuck in those suits.
No doubt. Moving on to the BFD, we have Eminon's AKB 49ers versus Naruto Smokehole 420's Tomb of the Boom. And Coach Eminon keeps lining up against bigger, stronger squads and coming out way ahead. Odds be damned. He said of Coach Naruto Smokehole 420, "I'm going to make him cry for mummy." And taking such a low-hanging fruit can only help his villainy grow. Can this menace be stopped?
I'm not sure that he knows how to stop it himself. He's like a rolling boulder down a hill, slowly collecting more and more steam. Honestly, that must be his plan.
Well, we spoke with former referee-in-chief Bago the Butcher earlier in the week, and he said that Aminon's players were taking dirty shots at the ill-fated coconut gun well past the point where the game should have been stopped by the refs. And in his day, he would have, quote, uppercutted Coach Eminon into the sun.
There are different times, Ferd. They don't allow such behavior these days from a referee.
Damn shame. Things are looking up for Naruto Smokehole 420 after a close loss last week, as he was able to pick up a big outside threat for his defense in the Love Below. What do you think about that matchup, Jadchek?
I think that anytime you get to thicken out your roster and really pad the positionals, I think that you're having a good look moving forward.
Moving to the bottom of the BFD, we have Questenstein's Burn Team Deathman versus Dirty Laundry's TBD Elves. Now, Burn Team Deathman is coming off a rocky start to their season, but Coach Questenstein has managed to add premier safety with extremely weird name, "I'll have mighty blow by the time I play against Bomber," to the squad amid accusations of salary cap breaking.
Yeah, it's always a shame when you see a coach with such a great resume resort to such low tactics. Every week it seems like we've got a different name for this guy, a different look, and it's not good.
Well, the TBD Elves have literally all the intangibles here. Focus, resiliency, leadership, work ethic. Everything about this team is unknowable and untestable, including its name and number of players. When asked about his plans for the game, Coach Dirty Laundry said no comment through a voice filter and asked not to be named, but we knew it was him.
Embarrassing.
The key to this matchup, I think, has to be whether big hitters Man-Train and Karate Time Todd can grasp the true nature of their unknowable opponents in time to actually tackle them to the ground.
That's a good point, Ferd, and I think that they're really going to have to make up for that absence of Helicopter Dave after his devastating death in Week 1.
Well, back across the league to the LDD, we have Coach Kaiser Friedrich Wilhelm II's Grimgore's Girls versus Coach Hungry Moth's Top Rope Tusslers. And both of these teams are facing a crisis right now. Grimgore's Girls have looked absolutely anemic on the field.
Understatement.
They can't score. No, definitely an understatement. They can't score. They can't hit. They can only sometimes move out of their own half. What does a team like this have to do to shake off the cobwebs?
Honestly, hire a new coach.
Tough but fair. On the other side, the Tusslers looked really good right up until the moment that renowned terrorist organization Death Force Omega arrived at the field pregame and made off with Coach Hungry Mouth. So far, no demands have been made. What do you make of this, Jadchuk?
Well, honestly, such a renowned terrorist organization usually is very prompt with their demands, and I think that it's a very ominous tell that they have yet to submit any to the league.
Well, we'll keep you guys posted on that. And in the final game, we have Coach Bomber 678's Bomber's Rumbling Bomber Elves featuring the league's number 2 bomber, Coach Bomber, versus Wampa's Big Randy and the Jeffs featuring the league's number 1 bomber, No Bombers. And I'm going to have to be straight here. Neither team looked very good last week. Coach Wampa has to feel especially bad that he was robbed by the sly, underhanded tactics of his rat opponent, which ran away with the ball, the game, and what was left of Coach Wampa's pride in a 5-1 rout.
I think you mean Ratford.
Well, I most certainly do, Jadchuk. Now, Coach Bomber, on the other side, lost a close one against Bird or Bat, but more importantly, he lost his ball specialist, who's out with a pinched nerve, which is really going to cost him his ball handling abilities. We all know that Coach Bomber and his boys really love to handle balls whenever possible, so what will he do to compensate?
Well, I think if anyone is an expert on ball handling in this league, it's Coach Bomber, and he'll find a young kid with the same enthusiasm and vigor for handling balls that he has, and he'll put that guy on the field in that position, give him a chance to really succeed, you know?
Yeah, Coach Bomber, truly an expert on ball handling and compensating. I'm sure he'll figure something out. The key here looks to be if the Jeffs bomber, no bombers, can get back to bombing form against Coach Bomber's Bomber Elf, since his long bombs have really bombed in the past 2 matches. Bomber.
True.
Well, moving on to the freshest play of the week, brought to you by Oracle B. Moving on, we'll ask you to join us in our weekly moment of silence for all of the players killed on the pitch last week. That moment of silence brought to you by Crazy Eddie's Refurb Coffins. Chainsaw got your whole team down? If you need lots of boxes fast, you found the right place in Crazy Eddie's. You'll go ape over our prices. It's a madhouse. A madhouse. Moving on to Chad Chuck's Lock of the Week. Take it away, Chad Chuck.
I deliberated a long time this week over what my lock would be, but I think it's going to be Dietz's Gridiron Gas versus John Is Dude's brand new Coconut Elves. This matchup has it all. It has a young coach looking for redemption in John Is Dude, fielding a new team that we know nothing about. How tough are they? How resilient are they? Hopefully more resilient than those shitty Simians. And we have Coach Dietz, who's really heating up on a hot streak, learning some lessons like don't put your players on the edge of the fucking field. And I think that this matchup has it all. It has a story. It has just an absolute gutsy pair of dudes looking to find their feet in this league. And for that reason, it's Chad Chuck's Lock of the Week.
Okay, well, that's our show for today. From Chad Chuck and all of us at the studio, this has been Ferdinand Washington III. See you on the field.